Welcome back. An upcoming symposium and concert is hoping to change lives and save lives through the power of music.
It's called Rock from the Heart. It's this Friday and Saturday. It starts with a dinner on Friday night, ends with a big old concert bash Saturday at the Palace Theater. And this morning we are joined by the founder of the event, Amy Johnson, and local cardiologist, Dr. Mario Gossel. Good morning, guys. Thank you for being here.
Good morning.
Thank you so much.
Having us.
Yes, of course. Thank you. Amy, let's talk a bit about this. You are behind this whole thing, spearheading this, and there's a reason. There's a personal reason. Can you explain?
Yep. In 2015, my husband went for a routine physical and walked out with a diagnosis of a 5-centimeter aortic aneurysm and aortic valve disease that would require surgery. So, of course, where do you go? You go to Dr. Google and find all the scary stuff.
Sure.
So he kind of made a decision that when he got through it, he wanted to do something to help other people so that they wouldn't be so scared. So by having these visible events, people find us because of the music, and then they walk out with a renewed awareness of, I need to get my heart checked.
Yeah, I love it too, you know, rocking out, getting the heart pumping. Tell us a little bit about aortic diseases, for instance, and why, for instance, what are some of the warning signs, doctor, that people should be aware of? Sometimes they don't know. Other times they may have some symptoms that you should be aware of.
Yeah. Aortic disease, aortic valve disease is actually one of the most common entities that we find when we examine patients. What I always tell people is if you get a little short of breath, you might even have some chest pressure. Sometimes some tiredness plays into it. And often what I find is if people avoid things that they used to do, like they simply don't do, you know, the shop work anymore, and they come home and they didn't really want to do it anymore, and all of a sudden you realize more and more that you adjusted your life to something that's going on. That can be one of the signs. But usually the shortness of breath, chest pressures, sometimes dizzy spells, that's a very, very common finding.
Just a quick thing, is this genetic?
Some of it is genetic. Pete's specific problem, there is some genetic contribution, but often it's actually a degenerative process that a lot of people can have.
So what are there treatments out there? Is this, do you find out right away when you go to the doctor? Is this your normal doctor? Do you need to go to a cardiologist? Kind of walk us through the process.
Yeah, once you have your symptoms, I think the first really, and that's why we're here, to create that awareness to say, okay, something is wrong, and you have to make that step, right, to have someone to look at you, examine you with a stethoscope, very easy. And yes, it's very easy to diagnose. Your primary care physician will find what we call a murmur, so some sort of sound on the heart. And the next step is also super easy, you know, not painful at all, and I brought it. It's an ultrasound, and it's sometimes, this is a smaller device, but, you know, it just looks at your heart. It shows you what your heart function is.
Hold it steady right there.
And it doesn't hurt, you know, you just put this probe on your chest. I mean, it's really totally, you know, unhurtful procedure. So very easy, takes 10-15 minutes to look at these things, and we can find out if what you're describing is actually a problem or not.
So how can families help one another and support someone who perhaps has this aortic valve disease?
Right. Well, like Dr. Gossel said, with Pete's case, he had a bicuspid aortic valve, and he had had a murmur heard when he was a teenager that was kind of dismissed as innocent, and it wasn't until he was 52 that it was finally checked with an echocardiogram, simply diagnosed that. So at that point, all his first-degree relatives needed to get checked for that with a simple echo as the initial thing. And it's really know your family history. If you've got people in your past that have died suddenly from a massive coronary or a massive heart attack, there's a chance that it was perhaps a ruptured aorta that wasn't discovered in time, or something to do with the heart in another sense, but if it wasn't checked further. So if you have those types of situations in your family history, very, very important to get checked.
Amy, I love how this has now become your mission and your family's mission. The event itself, what can people expect? What do they need to know? Can they go both Friday and Saturday? Kind of walk us through.
Yes, so we decided to mix education with fun, and music, of course, is that great uniter. So on Friday, there's an aortic health symposium from 1 to 6 p.m. at the St. Paul Hotel in St. Paul, followed by a dinner and a reception to survivor dinner. And then on Saturday, we take things up a notch, and the concert features Sebastian Bach, the former lead singer of Skid Row, who will be headlining, and then my husband Pete's band, the Rock from the Heart house band, Aortic Fire, will open up the show.
Nice.
All right, and you've raised a fair amount of money already, but of course much more money is needed for funding and research?
Yeah, I mean, it's always necessary, obviously. We have a lot of support from the community, honestly, and we always appreciate more. We do a bunch of screening events. We just did one with 1,000 people in New Ulm. We found a bunch of disease and helped a lot of people and created awareness. So, yeah, if there's anybody who wants to support these efforts, always welcome.
Doctor, is there an age where you really should start getting checked for this?
I think that's a very good question. I would say always, when you have symptoms, see a doctor,
sure,
no matter what age. But I think what we're seeing is when you get into the 60, 65-year range, that's where degenerative disease, so just the daily living disease basically happens, where valves can get a little diseased, and I think that's where a checkpoint is for many other things, and I think the heart valves should be another one.
Okay, all right. Amy and Mario, thanks so much for being here this morning and talking about this. It's coming up.
Yeah, it's called, once again, Rock from the Heart. It's Friday and Saturday. If you'd like to learn more, purchase tickets, get all the information, head to rockfromtheheart.org. Shane?